This year, the WWE Network is celebrating 30 years of The Undertaker leading up to Survivor Series. Of course, 30 years ago at that same event, The Undertaker made his WWE debut. And if the WWE Network is taking a month to celebrate the Deadman's illustrious career, well, we here at Sportskeeda decided we should probably do a little something ourselves. I'm Rick Uccino. Here are 5 facts about the Phenom you might not know. Number 5, the Deadman wrestling in New Japan Pro Wrestling. The Undertaker, one of a few superstars who have been incredibly loyal to the WWE. He stayed with the company through thick and thin, playing a major role in reestablishing it as the biggest wrestling promotion in the world during the Monday Night Wars. It's tough to imagine him wrestling for any other promotion, right? Well, turns out, in addition to his early days in WCW, The Undertaker actually wrestled for New Japan Pro Wrestling. This happened in March of 1990, a few months before he made his WWE debut at Survivor Series. He wrestled under the ring name Punisher Dice Morgan and was part of an extensive tour that lasted several weeks. The 7-time world champion worked in tag team matches with the likes of Bam Bam Bigelow and Chris Benoit. He even challenged for the IWGP tag team titles with WWE Hall of Famer Scott Hall. Number 4, Vince McMahon not originally interested in signing the big man. As tough as it is to believe considering how close these two men are today, WWE Chairman Vince McMahon was originally not interested in signing The Undertaker back in 1990, before he eventually did sign with WWE, Taker of course in WCW where he was known as Mean Mark Callis. Now Vince saw him wrestle a match with Lex Luger, but was apparently not impressed with his performance. Now Bruce Pritchard stated that Vince had to be convinced to meet with the man who would later become the Phenom. Turns out Taker had a dislocated hip in that match with Lex Luger, but decided to work it anyways. That's why his performance wasn't up to snuff. Eventually, Vince and Mark, well, they got in the same room together, and the rest is history. Number 3, The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak beginning on his birthday. One of the biggest accomplishments of The Undertaker's legendary career is his once undefeated WrestleMania streak, something which played a huge role in the success of the show of shows for many years. Interestingly enough, his WrestleMania streak began on his 26th birthday, March 24th, 1991, at WrestleMania 7. The Undertaker defeated Jimmy Snuka in his Mania debut, and for the next 22 years, The Undertaker continued digging holes and taking souls on the grandest stage of them all. Of course, it was arguably the biggest shocker in the history of the WWE when Brock Lesnar ended The Undertaker's streak at WrestleMania 30. Despite it being broken, the streak will likely never come close to being replicated by another superstar. With his believed retirement now, The Undertaker's record at WrestleMania ends at a very, very impressive 25-2. Number 2, The Undertaker was part of the highest rated segment in Raw history. Now, many fans might think that This Is Your Life segment involving The Rock and Mick Foley is the highest rated Raw segment in the show's history, but nope. That record actually belongs to Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker. The two did battle for the WWE, well, back then, WWF Championship on June 28, 1999, that edition of Monday Night Raw. And according to Wrestling Observer, that match was the most watched ever on cable television. That match did a 9.5 rating, which meant that 10.72 million viewers were watching that match. That's 1 out of every 6 television sets in the United States tuned in to watch Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker. Now, Austin would go on to win that bout, claiming his 4th World Championship. And number 1, The Undertaker, one of the original Paul Heyman guys. Many fans might not remember or just don't know altogether that The Undertaker was once a Paul Heyman guy. In fact, in his own words, he was one of the original Paul Heyman guys. The two were paired together during the latter part of the Deadman's WCW days, and The Undertaker told Sports Illustrated that Heyman was very beneficial to his career. Being good friends with Bruce Pritchard, Heyman was the one who helped open up conversations about bringing Taker to WWE. Heyman kept pushing the big man to Bruce, Bruce kept pushing Vince to meet with Taker, and as mentioned previously, eventually the two men had that meeting that not only changed Undertaker's life, but also altered the course of WWE history.